We'll try to get to as many questions as possible. We will have to probably slice and dice a few into, like, they'll be similar to one question. But keep your questions as direct as possible, as fair as possible, and as brief as possible. And candidates, make your answers the same. How's that? Opening statements are limited to 2 minutes. Answers to questions, 1 minute or less. I have the discretion to allow rebuttal. This isn't a debate, it's really a forum of meet the candidates thing, so I don't expect we'll do very much of that, but it's my choice, just so everybody knows. Kristen Smith is our timer. Candidates, she's sitting right over here. She will be holding up cards, and we'll tell you how much time you have left. And when she hits the stop card, please, you can finish your sentence as long as it's not a run-on sentence, and then stop, please. Mason County Clerk Cheryl Kelly had a previous engagement at this election inspector training scheduled, so she can't be here, but we asked her to talk about the primary election, because people get confused sometimes. And the primary is the way the parties select their candidate, so you can only vote in one party's election. There's actually 2 different parties' election going on at the same time, if you will. And you gotta pick a party to vote in and then stick to it. So Clerk Kelly stresses voters must stay in the respective party column and do not cross over or they'll spoil their ballot. And with modern tabulation, that means when you go to put it in the machine, it's gonna beep and not take it. If that happens, you can request another ballot and fix whatever error you've had. She also reports there are 2 early voting sites in the county. City of Ludington's early voting site is number 1, and it's at City Hall, I believe, in the council chambers. But it is only for City of Ludington residents. All other residents of Mason County have, if you want to do early voting, we'll do it at Custer Town Hall. And if I have it right, it's like 9 days prior to the election, approximately. We'll talk about where to get information right now. So, where do you get information about how to do early voting, how to get an absentee ballot? I always like to push this one site I found a number of years ago. It's under the Michigan Secretary of State's website. You can get to it from the state website, mi.gov. On the bottom of that opening page is something called Voting and Elections in Michigan. Once you find that, you click on it, and it'll take you to another page. We're going to turn a few pages here, but it sounds more complex than it is. And then there'll be a section that says Your Voter Information, and that really means you. You click on that, you plug in your name, your address, I think the month and year of your birth, and your zip code. It'll tell you right away if you're registered, and it will pop up a ballot such as you will see in the precinct you voted. I forgot to bring mine tonight, but I printed it off the other day. If you do that, there's no surprises election day on what you're voting on. So mine popped up, and I see I have 3 township candidates. We have a race that I hadn't paid much attention to. But it's really a good handy thing. You can get it all done. Voting's a lot easier on election day. You also get information about where your precinct is and how to get an absentee ballot. So tonight we're focusing on contested county election seats. So we're not doing local seats. We're not doing state seats. We did offer one race and both candidates declined because it's a little bit of ways. So is there anybody here in the audience that is a candidate in the August 6th election for township, city, state, or federal? If you are, and you're not on tonight's program, please stand up for a minute so we can all see you. Is there anybody here? Okay. So you might want to talk to these people. I'm not sure what office or anything, but there's a lot more than we're going to talk about tonight is what I really want to get to, okay? And so on behalf of our sponsors, I thank all the candidates who stepped up to run, whether local, state, or whatever. That's how in our country we pick our government, and we do pick our government through elections and voting. So with that, we're going to begin. I'm going to ask Bill Kierans to come forward to speak to you for a little bit about the Senior Center millages. Bill? By way of disclosure, I'm on that committee. Bill's heads the committee, and I'm on that committee, so a little bit of conflict, but not much. Bill.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you all for being here. It's great to see so many people taking this deep an interest in the coming election and in how our government operates. Now, I want to say that it is a primary election in a presidential year. Oftentimes, the primary election doesn't get a lot of attention. People are focused on what's happening in November. But I would just like to let you folks know that in terms of senior services in Mason County, this is the whole ball of wax. We're counting on having a positive result for the primary election because there's no tomorrow for us. After August 6th, that is the final answer from the voters of Mason County. And I'm proud to say that Mason County citizens have been extraordinarily supportive of senior services in this county for many, many years. We've had a senior millage since 1988. We've had 7 elections, and every one, the citizens of Mason County have supported services for their seniors and senior centers to provide those services. Thank you, Badger.
That's a vote of support, I think.
It is.
Yeah, the Badger's in favor. So I would like to just briefly tell you a bit about what is on the ballot. We are asking for a 6-year renewal of the senior millage in Mason County. We are asking for you to approve exactly the same level that we've had for the past 6 years. And that level is just under 1/3 of a mil, 0.2979 to be precise. How does that relate to what you pay? Well, that's a little bit under 30 cents per $1,000 of assessed value on your property. So if you're fortunate enough to have a property that has a tax value of $100,000, you'll pay a little less than $30 a year. And I think that is a very modest amount for a lot of excellent services for our many seniors in Mason County. Now, as I said, this rate has stayed the same. We're asking for it to stay the same as the last 6 years, and the same as the 6 years before that, and the same as the 6 years before that. In fact, for the last 16 years, the senior millage rate in Mason County has been exactly the same. And if it is approved this year, it will stay the same for 6 more years. We hope that you will find that you can support what we do at our senior centers. Now, you might ask, well, if the rate stays the same, aren't you starving services for our seniors? Don't they have increased needs for services? Well, we're fortunate to live in an area where the property values are increasing. So yes, we keep the rate the same, but we get a gradual increase so that we can provide effective services on a continuing basis, as well as additional services as time goes along and we identify those needs. Now, I do want to warn you about one thing. I know that you're all going to read the ballot extremely carefully before you vote. And you will see on there, here's a copy of it I happen to have with me. It says, proposed renewal of senior millage. But then you read the fine print, and all of a sudden you see this little 4-letter word down there. That 4-letter word is increase. And you might say, well, Bill told us that we were asking for exactly the same rate as we've had for 16 years. But it says right on the ballot, it's an increase. Well, there are technical reasons why our county is required to call it an increase. Because technically, the current millage has expired, and so therefore we have to consider that it's back to 0. And anything that we vote for is going to be technically an increase. But in reality, it is exactly the same that everyone has been paying for the past 16 years. So, we look forward to this. And so what do you get for that money? You get 4 senior centers spread around the county: Free Soil, Ludington, Tallman Lake near Fountain, and the Scottville Senior Center where I work. And they provide a wide variety of services within those senior centers. The seniors come to us and we provide exercise programs, we provide crafts, we provide socialization opportunities, we offer tech help and tax help, and we offer hot meals for our seniors at a very, very modest price. So, in addition to that, we have county-wide services that we provide out of the Scottville Senior Center. We have a homemaker program where our aides go out and help people who are not able to take care of all of their housekeeping needs, and we help them do that. We have a respite program that provides personal time for those wonderful caregivers of our older citizens who need constant supervision. And so our aides go into the house and provide those wonderful caregivers with a chance for some personal time and some rest. And we also have a combination of both of those programs where we can provide respite care and at the same time help with the housekeeping needs of our clients. Another major program that we have is medical transportation. Now we have volunteer drivers. They are reimbursed only for the mileage that they log on their cars. But they take people up to 100 miles away for doctor appointments. They go to Grand Rapids, they go to Muskegon, they go to Traverse City. All of those places within 100 miles. So anytime you have specialty from the Area Agency on Aging. Now, there's another important program that I want to mention, and that is the Rides to Wellness. That focuses on rides to doctor appointments within the county. Now, we also take some of our clients within the county. Those are people that we've been serving for all these many years that we've been doing this program. But the Rides to Wellness handles any new people that need help, and our Ludington Senior Center is a partner in that program, and so that is where you would call to ask for help to get to doctor appointments here within the county. So in summary, I would like you to think about this as very big benefits for a very small investment. We not only fund the 4 senior centers which are located, and by the way, those senior centers are a huge bargain to the county because none of the funds that you pay have to pay for those buildings. They are provided by, for instance, Mason County Central Schools owns the building that the Scottville Senior Center is in. Ludington owns the building the Ludington Senior Center is in. So the money you pay can go into services and the people to provide those services. So we say that it's the best bargain in public services. So that's a summary of what we hope you will support in the August primary. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. Panel, is there any questions? Panel? No questions? Okay, thank you, Bill.
Just in closing, I would like to thank our Friends of Seniors Committee, citizens who have come together to support this under the leadership of our honorary chairs, Bob and Kay Neal, and many other fine citizens who have come forward to join us. So, thank you very much.
Okay, first up, now our next up will be District 4 County Commission race, and we have incumbent Lou Squires and challenger David Holden. They're seeking the Republican nomination. District 4 encompasses Grim Marquette Charter Township north of US 10 and Amber Township. So, all the orders tonight have been pulled by draw, so Lou Squires goes first.
Good evening, everybody. Great to see you. First and foremost, thank you to the Ludington Daily News, the Mason County Press, the radio station, and the Chamber Alliance for putting this on. But most important, thank you for showing up and helping us to decide what's going on in our county here that we live in. I'd also like to thank our first responders, our law enforcement and our military men and women for giving us the chance to have this situation of freedom. And thank you very much, and I think they deserve a nice round of applause. I would like to also thank Mr. Holden for his service as a disabled vet. It's people like him that has made this country free. And thank you so very much, Dave, and thank you for running for this position. Appreciate that. Okay? My name's Lou Squires. I've been on the board finishing up 18 years. Seems like just yesterday I was running, and I remember back then how nervous I was about things, but now I realize that in the big picture of things, we are all equal and we are all working for the same things in this county. I'd like to also take a moment and thank my lovely wife, Wanda, over there. She's put up with this I've been in practice for 46 years. We've been married for 38 years, and she's missed me a lot, but she's a trooper, and thank you so very much, honey, for doing this. Okay? I would just like to say a couple of things. First of all, I'm running for this position for a multitude of reasons. One of the major reasons I'm running for this position is because I actually have a passion for the people of Mason County. I actually have a passion to see things get better for everybody, not just the low income or high income, everybody. I want this place to be a good place to live, work, and raise our families, and try and keep our families here. Fortunately, I have a son that took over our practice, and his wife is a podiatrist, and she's here, but we want to have our families here. Wanda and I have 5 kids, 15 grandkids, and 3 of the kids live here, and 2 of them live away from that standpoint. I just wanted to make a quick comment about some of the things that we've accomplished on this board. We have a really good county board. We have a very good chair in Janet Anderson. She's done an excellent job. But one of the things I'm very proud of is the fact that we did the promise thing for our youth. Now they can go to school for a couple of years free. That's very important. It's something that's very vital and important to help move those kids forward. I worked very hard on infrastructure development in the county.
We would hate to say it, you got time's up.
And as Mrs. Squires says, time's up too. So, thank you, I'm sorry. I thought we were supposed to do a little more. Okay.
Dave, 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Okay.
You ready? When does the 2 minutes begin?
When you started.
Begin now? Alright. First I want to thank Janet Anderson and Bill Anderson, and of course my family for their support. I wouldn't be here without you. I joined the U.S. Army a month before 9/11 and swore an oath under Stars and Stripes because I wanted to get back to a country that had given me so much. I was wounded on March 14th, 2004 in Fallujah, Iraq, and spent the better part of a year at Walter Reed Army Hospital. And like many of the veterans out there today, I served honorably. I joined the infantry because I believed you're going to do something, you should go all in. And you can bet I will serve Mason County with the same dedication. After my recovery, I went on to get a PhD and taught military history for the United States Army at the Command General Staff College for 12 years, where I taught the Army's brightest and smartest men as they earned a master's degree. As a wounded veteran, I understand the importance of family and community. And I come into this position with fresh eyes, as I understand the importance and difficulty in finding a house, as I struggled myself in finding one. I also understand, as someone who's currently unemployed, the difficulty in finding a job that pays a fair wage. And I understand the importance of transportation for the elderly, as my parents are retired here. As we move forward, I ask you to remember the values of service and dedication that I've shared with you here today. And together we can build a stronger, more prosperous community for our veterans, for our families, and for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, David. We're now going to go to questions from the panel, and we're going to start with Lois. We'll get the first question, and it will be asked. Lou will start with the first answer.
So, in any position, you're always going to face someone who may disagree with you or has an issue with something that you do. So, what are some of your conflict resolution skills, and how would you deal with disagreements when they occur?
First of all, I'm a huge advocate to sit at the table and make sure that debate and discussion is taking place. One of the things I pride myself in is I want to make sure that the townships, the municipalities, and the county are starting to work more and more together. If we work together, we can resolve more things. The best way to resolve issues is to sit down face to face and work alone. Actually, the majority of us all care about the same things here.
Okay. Thank you, David.
How long do we have to answer this? I'm
1
a
minute.
professor, I can be long-winded.
1 minute.
1 minute, okay. So, as a military professor, I used to tell my students, you don't have the luxury of being an ideologue and believing the sky is red or the earth is flat. You must be ruthlessly objective in evaluating the facts. In this position, you can expect the same from me.
Okay. Mr. Rubik, it's the next question. And this time, we'll start with David to answer first.
All right, Mr. Holden. What do you see as the most pressing infrastructure and capital needs in this county right now?
The most pressing infrastructure need would be housing. And I say that for this reason. Nothing can really progress in this county until we have more housing. That is a holdup. Everyone I talked to, I walked 61 miles and knocked on 700 doors. As a side benefit, I lost some weight too. But the housing came up over and over and over again as a significant issue affecting both lack of nurses, teachers, and dental hygienists. So without addressing that issue, it's difficult to find the employees for any kind of infrastructure until you provide for the housing first.
Lou?
First of all, housing is one issue, infrastructure is another issue. And third and foremost, we have to have people here that's willing to work. We need quality jobs. I've been a huge advocate for economic development the whole time I've been on the commission. If we get better jobs, people can afford better houses. Just that simple. If you make more money, you can be able to do more things. We need quality jobs. To get quality jobs, we've got to continually reach out and make this county more accessible to outside investment. We need to make sure we clean up a lot of the things that we have going wrong and turn that into a more positive standpoint. We can make this county better. It's a great county. We all know it's a great county. We have a lot of good volunteers and a lot of good people in this county. We can make it better. I know we can, and I have a passion to do that.
Thank you, Lou. Rob, next question, and Lou will be up first for answering.
We have a courthouse that's well over 100 years old. Is it time that Mason County build a modern facility for the courts?
It takes a lot of money. We have a courthouse that's very beautiful in nature, looks very good from the outside appearance. A little quantitated on the inside. We need to have better circumstances. We are doing a $175,000 remodeling program right now inside to try to update things. Costs a lot of money to do that, puts a big burden onto the taxpayers. We need to take it one step at a time and see what we can do. As of right now, things are working. We're making improvements. We are creating and doing all the mandated services that's required by us, by the state, and we're trying to provide the services that's important to you and your family. So it's something that needs to be done in the future, but we don't have the resources at present time.
David?
I would agree with Lou. I got called recently to serve, and I was shocked at how uncomfortable these seats are in that courtroom. Like, there are wooden, I think they've been there for like 90 years, maybe 100, I'm not sure. I wasn't there very long. I was dismissed because I'm more of a guilty till proven innocent type of guy. So they kind of dismissed me and let me walk. But I would agree, I think our money could be better spent other places besides replacing the seats.
Okay, Lois, next question.
So as a member of the media, of course, transparency is one of our big concerns. So what are your plans for keeping your constituents informed of your decisions?
And David, your answer first.
Okay, so that did come up. I talked with several business owners in town, and that was one of the issues that came up was kind of communication, and it also came up when I was going door to door that I believe Gene Kyle mentioned it would be really nice if there was a way to watch the county commissioner meetings online. So, you know, if it's winter or whatever, you don't actually have to go there. You can just watch it virtually. And so I think that'd be a wonderful way to increase the reach.
Okay, Lou?
I have been a huge advocate for transparency. Everybody knows that. I'm one of the county commissioners that ask a ton of questions every county meeting. I will tell you that we need to make sure that we get everybody thinking on the same lines of trying to improve communications between municipalities and the citizens and the townships and the county. The more we do for you, the better off we're going to be able to get everybody be happier. Transparency is the key.
Thank you. I think we have time for 2 more questions. They're doing a good job being succinct. You could teach the presidential candidate something. So Steve Ruba gets the first question and Lou will answer first. Or the next question. And
No, right? Yes. Okay. Lou? You're both running to represent Amber Township. Do you feel that the US 10 corridor needs rejuvenation? And if so, how would you go about it?
Amber Township is going to be the township that grows in the future. Hamlin's full, Pimlico's full. It's going to be going to the east. It is vitally important that we have better infrastructure within that, so we can do that. But we need also improved county zoning, setback laws, maybe even a few more lights here and there. But the law enforcement is vitally important too. I commend Sheriff Cole, who has endorsed me, to continually patrol the US 10 corridor.
thank you. David?
Yes, I think tourism is vital to this town. When I spoke to Barry Neal, the owner of House of Flavors, discussing with him what future growth would look like for Mason County, he suggested, it looks like, if I asked him to predict into the future, I said, what did he see? He said, I see it growing eastward towards Scottsville. And so I think it would be important that we expand that way and find ways, especially when it comes to tourism, that we can get those off seasons, winter, spring, and autumn, so that we can bring in the funds necessary for the businesses to survive. Before anything can go there, you have to find a way to increase the tourism to include those other parts of the year.
Thank you. One more question, then I'll go to Rob, will get to ask it, and we'll start with David answering.
First, a statement, Mr. Holden, if you're going to run for office representing areas in Scottsville, you should say Scottville, not Scottsville.
Bill Kearns actually told me that, and I think it just flows off the tongue easily. So sorry, Bill, I think you're still here. I guess I did my hummus a little later.
Should the county zoning ordinance be changed to allow for the development of mass solar panel development over existing farmland?
Okay, so this is a topic that I find important for the following reasons. First of all, California's gone the furthest of anybody towards wind and solar. At 39% of their power comes from wind and solar. They also pay double what we pay in Michigan right now, 30 to 36 cents versus around 15 to 18 cents here in Michigan. Furthermore, it isn't as green as you think it is. Let me explain why. There's something called a carbon debt, and that means from the mining of the minerals to the production of the equipment to the installation, the decommissioning of it, that creates a carbon debt. And it takes anywhere from 10 to 20 years to recoup that carbon debt. And the average lifespan for a solar factory or solar farm is 30 years. So 1/3 to 2/3 is just necessary to get back to carbon neutral.
Lou?
I'm probably one of the only commissioners on the board yet that dealt with wind turbines. We did a lot of positive with wind turbines, we did a lot of negative with wind turbines. They haven't turned out to be as positive on all hands as we would want. Solar's another issue. We want to make sure that we don't reinvent the wheel here when we do the solar. We need to make sure that we look at other areas, go to those areas, talk to those people, find out what is negative about them, what is positive about them, and the long-term effects of them. There's some goodness to solar, as we all know, and there's also some badness to solar. And we got to keep that in mind. I do think the county zoning circumstance, we passed a resolution to try to keep everything local. Let's see what transpires down the road here. We've had a feeling that if we couldn't keep it local, that they may take it to the state, and they have different rules and regulations than what we have. So it's vitally important that you all stay involved, because you all will be affected one way or another. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we go to closings, and it's 1 minute, 60 seconds, and Lou, you go first.
You know what? I take this job very serious. I don't need this job, but I take it very serious. I take the welfare of this county very close to my heart. I have a passion to see things get better. Most people that know me know that I've been around here for a long time. I have contributed to many, many organizations, many school functions, kids, playgrounds, lots of things. it is vitally important that we keep somebody on the board that has the experience, the know-how, continually deal with government. I deal with the government on a regular basis. In my profession, I'm the PAC chair for the American County Prosecuting Association, so I'm dealing with those guys on a pretty regular basis. So my comment is, experience is key with all the things that's happening in Mason County. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
So I'm running for county commissioner because I love this country and I love this community. I've spent my life serving America, and now I've come here to serve you. My loss pales in comparison to those who paid the ultimate price for the freedoms that we have here today. And this isn't about me. This is about me helping those of you out there to reach and embrace your fullest opportunity and liberty. I think too often today, government serves itself rather than you. The purpose of government is to preserve life, liberty, tranquility, justice, and personal property. And I'm here to ensure that the government here is for you, by you, and serves you. Thank you.
Thank you. This is your District 4 County Commissioner, Republican candidates Lou Squire and David Holden. Thank you, guys. Okay, next up is District 7, and District 7 represents Logan, Eden, Custer, Branch Townships, and Sheridan Townships south of Millerton Road. The two Republican candidates seeking nomination are incumbent Ron Bacon and challenger Alden Malakis. And by draw, Ron Bacon will have the first 2-minute opening.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. My name is Ron Bacon from Custer, Michigan. I've lived there 69 years. This month, I'll be married 44 years, third generation to live in Custer Township. For as far as government, it's kind of in my blood. I served 36 years as a Custer Village trustee, a year and a half as a Custer Township supervisor, and then I'm finishing my third term as county commissioner. I've been in public service, community service all my life. From being a cook at the A&W in Custer, which a lot of you people probably don't even know that Custer had A&W, to working at Sponsors. When I was a kid, 27 years an insurance agent, 20 years before that for Ludington Beverage, 30 years as a church administrator, and as I'm serving as the county commissioner. I serve on the finance committee and am honored to be part of this commission. I also serve on the Area Agency of Aging that Bill had mentioned earlier, which does much for Mason County. There's a lot of dollars that come back here to serve you, including the Meals on Wheels, Medicare services, Medicaid services come back. I serve on the West Michigan Mental Health Board and on their executive board. I serve on the Lakeshore Regional, which is like the ESD when it comes to education, and also serve on District 10 Health Department. I serve on 3 lake boards, and glad to serve. I appreciate this.
Thank you, Ron. Holden, 2 minutes.
My name is Alden Malakis. I live south of Custer on Molson Road. And I'm originally a graduate of Mason County Central High School. From there I went to the United States Air Force Academy and on the pilot training, and I flew C-130s in Europe, Mediterranean, Middle East, Central America, and North America. I worked as a material handling division person in Pentwater Wire, and most of the decking in the warehouse in the Walmarts and Granger I produced. Then I went on to do some tax preparation in Mason County, and after that I went in to get my accounting degree. I became a Bachelor of Business Administration, and I worked at Hamilton Industrial Products in Hamilton, Michigan as an accountant. I did cost accounting and estimating. From then I came back to the area I did some more tax preparation. And after that, I kind of trying to develop my farm as an organic farm. And as a result of that, I have gone into beekeeping. I have about 50 hives. And from there, I decided that we needed more beekeepers, so I opened up Mason County Bee Supplies, from which I supply various beekeepers that want to become beekeepers. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Alden. So the first question will be coming from Steve Ruba, and then we'll start with Ron for the first answer. 1 minute answers.
Thank you for being here, gentlemen. You know, I asked earlier about the corridor between Ludington and Scottville, but that stretches straight through Custer and keeps going. Is it important that, you know, we've had trouble keeping some stores in the Custer area? What would you do to rejuvenate those businesses?
That's a good question. I would love to see Custer come back to what it was when I was a kid. We had Johnny's, we had Bonsers, we still have Sanders, we had banks, beauty shops. At one time there were 7 gas stations in Custer. The things have changed, and sad, I'm not sure what it would take. We had the zoo for a short time, but that didn't last. Now the road commission has bought that property and has put up a building there, and they're looking at putting another building there and moving their process out there. I'm not sure how we can get, but I would love to see it happen. Thank you.
Alden?
I think as long as you have places like Walmart that can purchase things from China that cut rates, I don't think you'll ever develop any big type of stores like that in the Custer corridor. It might be like a community effort where you folks get together and decide you're going to buy from your local farmers or from your local gardeners. I think that might start the ball rolling and developing that corridor. Thank you.
Okay, next question goes to Rob, and we'll start with Alden for the first answer.
What policy changes or investments are necessary to encourage broader employment in Mason County?
Would you repeat that, please?
Sure. What policy changes or investments are necessary to encourage broader employment in Mason County?
Okay, that's an answer that I would put out to the people that live in Mason County. What do they want? We seem to have a tendency to elect somebody and then let them decide what's going to happen to you. I think it's time, and I would promote more community involvement and let you folks make the decisions on what your servants are going to do for you. Thank you.
Ron?
Sure. What policy changes or investments are necessary to encourage broader employment in Mason County?
Maybe the possibility of applying for grants, people starting businesses to possibly make a go of it that way. If you get a grant with some payback or some forgiveness to get them rolling.
Okay, thank you, Ron. Next question goes to Lois, and we'll start with Ron.
So, what actions do you think would you recommend that would improve the functioning of the office that you're seeking? So like for the county commission, what are some actions that you think would help the functioning of the board more?
As far as?
Just in general, do you see that there's any shortcomings right now or some areas that need improvement with that, or?
Well, we all try to work together to have a commitment to the people in Mason County for the betterment of the county. And it takes, it's a thought process, and it's also energy to working together, I guess, would be mine.
Okay, Alden?
That's an interesting question. For months, I would write to the county commissioners. I would put letters in their inbox. I would go to the meetings and talk to them. And I would imagine total over the time that I was writing, either weekly or monthly or bi-weekly, I probably put out 10, maybe 20, 30 letters to all the commissioners. I would go to the courthouse, I would stuff them in their boxes, I would hand them out to them in meetings. And the problem that I had is not one commissioner answered any of my letters or talked to me, except for Janet Anderson, and that had to do with Great Lakes Energy.
Okay. Thank you. Next question is back to Steve Ruba, and we'll start with Alden. Owen, yeah.
All right, Mr. Malekis, how would you protect some of our beautiful green spaces that we have, PM River, and some of our lakes, for that matter, even our farms? Is that important that we protect them, and how would you do it?
Okay, my position on that is that the county commission does not own your land and shouldn't be making those kind of decisions for you. You own the land, you're the masters. You should be telling the county commission what they want to do. We could have meetings, you could all attend, you could make that decision. And we would have to decide on what type of decision process to use. Thank you.
Ron?
So that's, as far as the farmers, that is like with the solar issue, with DTE trying to get the county to change their zoning to meet what DTE wants. I'm not sure what all they've discussed with the farmers for their land and stuff, but I'm not so sure that we want to move fast with that. I think that's got to be a slow-moving process, like Lou had brought up before about the wind turbines and stuff and what the county's gone through. Thank you.
Okay, we have time for 2 more questions. Rob, you get to ask this one, and we'll start with Ron.
Well, Ron kind of answered my first question, and I'm wondering if Mr. Malekis could have an opportunity to answer the question also about solar panels. So I'm just going to re-ask the question, and we'll start with Ron, I guess. Should the county zoning ordinance be changed to allow for the development of mass solar panel development over existing farmland?
Well, like I said, it's got to be a slow thought process. The state's putting pressure on trying to take things over. I'm not so sure we want that. We've already passed a resolution to keep it local as much as we can. But I'm not sure because the DTE is saying that the farmland can be used again. Well, once you sink that kind of cement in the ground, I'm not so sure that that ground can be reused, and how it would be, how you're going to recycle the panels when we do pull them out, where it's going to go for landfills, I'm not sure. Thank you.
Alden?
The solar panel issue, I think, is pertinent to the county. It needs to be discussed amongst each other. I know there are farmers that have been farming for a long time, and they have all this flat land, and it looks real good to get that check in for not doing anything. But you have to realize we all have rights here. You have rights, the farmer has rights, and I think you people should get together and decide on whose rights are going to take precedent here. Whether it's going to be the property owner next door who's going to who doesn't want the solar panels, or whether the farmer who wants the solar panels. They should be looking at what's going to happen down the line. We talked about what happens in 20 or 30 years. And then maybe they can have some type of compromise. Maybe they won't have as many solar panels. Thank you.
Last question goes to Lois, and we'll start with Alden for the last answer.
If elected, what are some of the top goals that you would like to accomplish while you're in office?
Top goals that I would like to accomplish. One is more people involvement, more Mason County citizen involvement in local government. And number 2, I'm very opposed to the, especially Great Lakes Energy putting in smart meters. The smart meters control the amount of electricity that comes into your house. These smart meters are made by Chinese, and the Chinese are not our friends. So if they decide that they want to shut that smart meter off, you won't have anything to say about that. And the next thing we talked about is the solar panels, and I think that's an issue that should be talked about by everybody in this county, because I think in the end, when these solar panels are no longer working, you people are gonna be the ones that are gonna have to take care of you and your children. Thank you.
Okay, Ron?
Yes. What are the top goals that you would like to have accomplished this next term?
Well, we've got to solve the solar issue one way or the other. And so we have to, like Alden said, we got to work together, get input. It's not just the county commission. We got to have the farmers, our local neighbors, the new people sitting out there getting us ideas and your thoughts. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to closing, and it's 1 minute, and Ron, you start with closing.
Well, again, I want to thank everybody for coming. You know, I miss the America that I grew up in. I would like to see, like you had mentioned before, Custer come back to what it was. Is that going to happen? Probably not. But I would like to be a part of help to maybe get something done in that order. Thank you.
Thank you. Alden?
When I left the service, I started going around the Midwest looking for old books. And one of the old books I found was an 1887 history of the United States of America. It's called The Footprints of Time and Analysis of Our Government. It says the proper political acts of self-government are nearly all performed by citizens within the town organization. That was a town meeting, probably similar to our townships. The town meeting is the ultimate authority in the state, voting for, influencing, or instructing the members of Congress, the governor, the state senators and representatives, the state or county officers. And that would probably be my goal, is to try to reinstitute this type of a meeting so that we would get more community involvement. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron and Alden. These are your District 7 County Commissioner candidates, Ron Bacon and Alden Malakis. Thank you. Now up we'll have moved to the Mason County Drain Commissioner race. Incumbent Dan Rhodey is not running this term, so it is an open seat, and David Bendel and Larry Protachevitz. Did I get it, Larry? All right. Are on the Republican ballot. And somebody always has to give me a name I got to work on. Been working on it for 2 weeks. So, let the jet pass. Janet, is that the county jet? No county jet, all right. All right, so by draw, first opening goes to Dan. Or Dave, yeah, that's David, excuse me, I got Dan and David. David, first opening.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out, and I'd like to say that, I've lived in Mason County for almost 20 years. I live in Custer Township with my wife Rachel and our 3 kids. We've always been active members of our community and contributed to the local workforce and spent many hours volunteering in our community events. My experience in drainage systems comes from working in agriculture, excavation, road repair and maintenance, and drain tile installation. I have also previously worked in the drain office where I was responsible for drain inventory, right-of-way management, and working with contractors and landowners to find solutions to their problems. As your drain commissioner, I plan to keep open communication on projects, keep costs of repairs as low as possible, work with organizations to help with grants and funding, support agriculture and landowners, and serve in this position for 20 years if you so choose, so that we can put together maintenance programs and see them through. I've had an interest in running in this position before and didn't feel it was the right time. And now that my kids are older and more self-sufficient, I have more time that I can dedicate to the position and reach out and stay connected with the community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Larry?
Good evening, everyone. Again, thank everyone for coming out today. Got a great crowd, great night. Introduce myself, Larry Protachevitz. I've been working for drain commissioners for 36 years throughout the state of Michigan. I currently work for Spicer Group, where we're an engineering surveying firm that specializes in water resources throughout the state. I've worked in 55 different counties. helping those counties come up to speed with their records and with their management of their drains, working on a multitude of different projects, award-winning projects throughout the state to help improve our water quality and to help improve the movement of water and the drainage systems. So I've done that for 36 years. Dan Rohde approached me a year and a half ago and asked if he knew I was winding down my career at Spicer Group and would be interested in working here in Mason County full time. And I think it's a great way for me to move into being closer to home. I've been traveling around the state of Michigan, and to bring my expertise that I've gained over the years as being a registered professional engineer and working on projects and working with the counties, working with DTE and several of the solar farms throughout the state on making sure that those are put in correctly. I want to bring those expertise here to home and bring that to Mason County so I can help serve the residents of Mason County.
Thank you. So the first question goes to Rob, and we start with David, or we start with Larry, excuse me.
Please explain the duties of the Mason County Drain Commissioner.
Well, that's not very understood by a lot of people, so we'll explain that. Mason County Drain Commissioner has kind of 3 different hats. There's currently 135 miles of county drains that are managed by the Drain Commissioner that serve as outlets for water and improving water quality. That's one hat, managing the records, maintaining those systems, also being available to improve or create new drainage systems for individuals or corporations that may want to come in to make sure that it's done properly. The second part is a Department of Public Works Commissioner. We talk about growth in the county that needs to be done properly, and it'd be part of the Department of Public Works Director, and also public parks. And I've done a lot of work with parks, and I look forward to assisting in the Parks Department on their projects also.
Thank you, Larry. David?
He pretty well covered it. I don't think there's a whole lot to add on that other than the landfill and keeping track of the landfills and making sure that leach gets hauled off and doesn't get down into our soil. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Lois, next question, and we'll start with Larry. We'll start with David this time, excuse me. It's hot up here.
So are you aware of any potential conflicts of interest that you might have if you were elected to office? And if so, how would you handle those?
Ask me first.
Just general.
David, you start.
Okay. No, I don't have any conflict of interest that would pertain to me winning this election.
No, I don't have any conflicts of interest. I am retiring from Spicer Group on December 31st and hope to take office as Mason County Drain Commissioner immediately following.
Okay, next question goes to Steve, and we'll start with Larry.
All right. Mr. Prosecutor, how updated are our sewer, and for that matter, storm drains, and could that lead to opportunities, especially with our sewer drains, for homeowners to replace their own sewer lines? We've seen that in the 4th Ward. How much of that could go on?
Well, I'm not very familiar with the sewers in the city of Ludington. The county drain commissioner manages the sanitary sewer from Scottville to Ludington, but not the city. The city DPW takes care of that. But my experience in the past and working with sewer authorities throughout the state of Michigan and with different townships and municipalities, I think I can bring that to the table to help develop a sewer authority, develop a water authority to help outlying areas and build infrastructure.
Are they in good shape right now?
It's actually the Scottville sanitary sewer system has been reconstructed. All its pump stations have been redone, but there's probably a lot more capacity available to help and grow that area out into the Custer area and so forth.
David?
I'm not real familiar with the infrastructure. I do know, like you said, it's, you know, it runs from Scottville and it runs down to, you know, from West Shore College down into Ludington. I do know one problem that Scottville seems to have is that the stormwater system is tied in certain locations with the sanitary sewer, and therefore it increases the costs for Scottville for their bill, you know, for their billing purposes, because all that stormwater has to be cleaned when it gets into Ludington. I do think there's potential for grants and funding and stuff to help with that. It would be something that you'd have to look into.
Okay, Rob gets the next question, and David will answer first.
Should the Michigan Drain Code of 1956 be revised? If yes, what are some of the key revisions that should take place?
The drain code has been revised, you know, since it began in 1956. From what I gather, over 200 times. As we move on with technology and, you know, we build more houses and we change the infrastructure, I do believe that there's probably going to be more amendments that need to be done to it.
Thank you. Larry?
Yeah, this is something that's near and dear to my heart with the drain code. I've been involved with the Michigan Association of County Drain Commissioners for the same 36 years in working to make those legislative changes at the state level. The number one change that needs to happen is where the drain commissioner is limited to spending $5,000 per mile to maintain these drainage systems. And as everybody knows, maintaining your system, maintaining your car, maintaining that is what makes it last a lot longer, and you don't have to reconstruct. And reconstruction of drains after they haven't been maintained for 30, 40 years is very, very expensive. So the first and foremost thing we need to do is we need to increase that maintenance spending limit. You know, literally you can remove maybe 2 or 3 log jams and you've spent your $5,000, and it just doesn't maintain those systems adequately. And maintenance will be a lot cheaper in the long run than reconstruction.
Thank you. Lois, next question, and we'll start with Larry.
So can you explain how you would approach a problem or an emergency as it happens? What steps do you do normally for problem solving?
Well, problem solving, what we run into mainly with counties is when we have about a 6-inch rainstorm. And I've been in a lot of situations where I get a call in the middle of the night from the county drain commissioner and saying, hey, we just got 4.5 inches of rain, we have flooding, roads are washing out, can you come and evaluate the situation, you know, and deal with it. First and foremost is safety, and I tell our engineers and everybody that shows up on a site, you know, if this is not safe, we need to shut a road down, we need to do something. First and foremost is safety. Second is just evaluate the situation. Is it something that can wait to be fixed in the near future, or is it something that needs to happen now so we can keep a house from flooding or so forth? So it's kind of a triage system. You start right at the beginning and then you move on through that triage.
David?
Will you ask that again, please?
What are the steps that you take to solve problems as they occur?
To solve problems as they occur.
David, step up to the mic a little. Thank you.
I thought I was the one who was squealing here. In order to solve the problems, I think first and foremost you got to try to eliminate them problems before they start, which would be where the maintenance comes in. The cleaner that we can get things and the more up to date we can keep the infrastructure, the less of those emergency problems that you're going to have. Those emergency problems that are going to come up, they're going to come up no matter what at some point in time, and they're all different. It's you got to handle them as they come to you, and every scenario is a little bit different.
Okay, thank you. So now we have time for one more question, and we'll give that to Steve Ruba, and we'll start with David will answer first.
All right. You know, I don't pretend to be an expert, but I drive around and I see a lot of standing water on our farmland. And some of that is the purvey of the drain commission, but what would you do to help out our farmers with a lot of that standing water, better drainage?
Well, again, keeping your infrastructure clean and the maintenance that needs to be done to let that water get away. And then you got to ask: is it the system that's creating the problem, or is it the lack of tile and stuff in the farmer's field? Why hasn't he decided to put that in there? Is it because the drain isn't clean, or tiling's expensive. So most of it, I would say, is just the maintenance and keeping things clean. That's one of the biggest problems that we have is too many years of growth. It keeps getting passed on, I feel, down to different generations, and we need to stand up, I think, and grab the bull by the horn and try to get that maintenance taken care of. Thank you.
Thanks. Larry?
Yeah, as we said earlier, the Drain Code of 1956 is a very complex law, and a lot of people are afraid of it. And there's a lot of good tools in the toolbox there. And one of them is just establishing new county drains. And I don't know, in my career working with Mason County, we've never established a new county drain. And that's a process where it has public hearings and allows landowners that may be having flooding problems or want to put in new tile systems but don't have an outlet to petition the county drain commissioner to hold a public hearing to establish a county drain and move forward in helping that drainage infrastructure. There's counties that have over 3,000-4,000 miles of county drains. We have 135. So there's opportunity to help there, and I think part of it is then we're seeing a lot of growth or value increase in some of these farms, and it's going to allow these landowners to spend money on infrastructure and tiling, and then know that they're going to be able to get that money back out in the future. So I see that happening.
Thank you. We go to closing now, and David is first and Larry second. 1 minute.
I just want to thank everybody for coming, and I'd like to say that I've never been a politician and I've never run for office before. But I have sat on different committees and taken leadership roles in them. I've also been elected in the past 3 years as local and chapter president for our union, where I have gained experience in working to find common solutions to our problems. I've made it a point to attend most of the township and city council meetings and have met with people to hear their concerns. If I'm elected, I plan to continue to go to these meetings and stay engaged with the community and put my experience and dedication to work. Thanks again, and I'd appreciate your vote on August 6th.
Thank you. Larry?
Yeah, I look forward to bringing my expertise here to my hometown now in Mason County. There's no training involved with me. I can step into the job. I'm looking forward to moving forward to getting the county records up to date, getting them scanned, getting them in the clerk's office. There's a lot of things that I can step in and just take care of, and then also be available for on the DPW side and on the recreation side of things. So there's no training involved with me. I'm looking forward to it, and I look forward to being here in Mason County.
Thank you. This is your candidates for Mason County Drain Commissioner, David Bendel and Larry Prosecutor. Thank you, Larry. Will the Mason County Prosecutor candidates please move forward? Come on up. 3 candidates are seeking the Republican nomination for Mason County Prosecutor. Beth Ann, Becky Lederer, and Jordan Miller. And we have drawn for openings. It'll be started by Becky, followed by Beth, and then third will be Jordan. So I'm going to get over here and get another bottle of water. This is a sauna right here. Okay. Everybody ready? Okay, so we will start with the first opening of 2 minutes from Becky.
Thank you. My name is Becky Lederer, and I'm running for Mason County Prosecutor because I love this community. I have lived in this community my entire life other than to go to college, and I am raising my children here, and I feel that we need to be smart on crime in Mason County. And let me explain what I mean by that. We have a 2-year backlog of cases in Mason County right now, and we need to clean up that 2-year backlog created by the current administration. We need timely resolution of cases. We need justice for victims, and justice for victims in a timely manner so that they have a resolution, so that they can be at peace. We need to focus our limited resources in Mason County on chronic offenders. We need to increase access to mental health and addiction services for our community. I want to represent all of the citizens of Mason County so that victims have a voice, the defendant's rights are protected, and we have timely resolution of cases. Our county needs somebody with integrity. In all of the years of practicing in Mason County, my integrity has never, ever been questioned. So for those reasons, I am asking for your support for the election coming August 6th for Mason County Prosecutor. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. Beth?
Thank you everybody for coming. My name is Beth Hand, and I am currently your Mason County Prosecutor. I was appointed by Judge Snagowski on May 31st, 2024 to maintain this office until December 31st when your current prosecutor left in the middle of her term. I come to the table with almost 32 years of prosecutorial experience. I spent 28 years in Oakland County as an assistant prosecutor, and in 2021 I reached out to the administration here when I knew that there were going to be openings here in Mason County, and proactively sought this position. I was hired as the Chief Assistant Prosecuting Attorney in 2021. Over those past 3.5 years, not only did I earn the trust of Judge Snagowski to make me the current prosecutor, I've also earned the trust of all of the law enforcement in this community. I have been endorsed by Sheriff Cole. I have been endorsed by the Michigan Fraternal Order of Police, who represent our local law enforcement here. I have also been endorsed by the Michigan Association of Police Organizations, which includes the Michigan State Troopers Association. I have also been endorsed by the local Teamsters 214, who represent our corrections officers here in Mason County, and I'm also the only candidate to receive the Right to Life endorsement. Those endorsements are not made lightly. It's because I am trusted by the law enforcement in this community. They know that I am extremely different than the prior administration, and I am the person that they want for this position because they know that I have the experience. In Oakland County, I manage a division that was larger than the Mason County Prosecutor's Office. This county needs a change, and they need a change that has experience, and that's me.
Thank you, Beth. Jordan?
Well, thank you and good evening. My name is Jordan Miller. I have been an attorney for 11 years, including the last 5 as an assistant prosecutor in Madison County. I have been a resident of Mason County for almost 10 years. My wife was born and raised here, and that's what brought me to the area. There are really 2 reasons why I'm seeking this position. The first is because being a prosecutor is all I've ever wanted to do. It is the reason that I went to law school. It is the reason that I accepted a position in Madison County. But I am ready to return to my home community. I am ready to return to the county in which my efforts can have the most impact. The second reason is a reason that both of the other candidates have already alluded to, is that we do need change. Mason County has had 4 years of instability, 4 years of inefficiency, 4 years of failure. We have had a backlog of cases. We have had cases going to jury trial and people being found not guilty. It is not acceptable. We need change, and with all due respect, I don't think that the candidate currently in the office is going to bring the change that we need. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we go to questions. The first question will be asked by Lois, and we'll start with Becky.
This is actually a question that was submitted by the audience, so I will read this. What type of plea bargain policies will you establish to ensure fair administration of justice and expeditious resolution of pending cases?
Sure, I think every case needs to be looked at as a whole, and so there's no one cookie cutter plea bargaining process to be put into place, because each case and defendant, frankly, may have different needs in regards to rehabilitation, or if it's a repeat offender, may need significant amounts of prison time. So I think each case needs to be looked at individually to ascertain whether or not a plea is going to be made and what that plea is.
Thank you. Beth?
I agree in part with that. Each case should be treated individually. Every defendant should be looked at as a human being and not a docket number. However, the plea bargaining policy in the past has been extremely lenient, and there are repeat offenders who have not been held accountable for the crimes that they've committed. The plea bargaining policy, there should not be a policy. It should be taken on an individual basis. I can say this, there are only 17 cases on the trial docket currently, and none of them are 2 years old. And I looked at those numbers this morning. So the plea bargaining activities that have occurred in the past are such that people were waiting till the very last minute to schedule a trial and then taking the plea on the last date. I think that we need more accountability in this county, and I do intend to bring more accountability to those who violate our laws.
Thank you. Jordan?
So plea bargaining is unfortunately an absolutely necessary part of the criminal justice system, especially in a small community such as Mason County. You have an office that is composed of, at best, 3 attorneys. And so it is simply not practical for every case to go to trial. That said, you do have to have a certain set of principles. You cannot take plea bargaining lightly. You have to do it with input from the victims. You have to do it with input from the legislative sentencing guidelines. You have to be able to get what you need as a prosecutor to satisfy public safety, efficiency, taxpayer resources, taxpayer time in coming in for jury service. You have to be able to do all of that while still maintaining those principles. And sometimes that can be done, not always. Sometimes there are certain cases where justice just demands that you go to trial, and I'm prepared to do that, and I have done it.
Thank you. Next question goes to Steve Ruba, and we'll start with Beth for the answer. First answer.
All right. We've just learned that we're hiring out freelance services to handle misdemeanors. Is this a good thing?
It is a necessary thing. The office is now down to just myself, and no matter if I work 20 hours a day, which I do need assistance. And although I have put out many ads and sought out assistance in law schools for other attorneys as well as other attorneys in the area, it is a necessary step at this point. They are both sworn in as assistant prosecutors, so they have taken an oath of office. The money is there, and this is a short-term fix. I don't think, I know if I was coming out of law school looking for a job, I'm not going to want to take a job in an office where I don't know who the elected official is going to be. August 7th, that will change.
Jordan?
So I mostly sympathize with Ms. Hand in this regard because I think it's probably safe to assume that this is not her preferred method. Obviously, you do have to have assistance in the office. I have personally dealt with, in the Mason County Prosecutor's Office, having a prosecutor who was out on medical leave for an extended period of time, and even with 2 prosecutors in the office. It was a struggle, but we managed. We managed while also keeping the docket moving, keeping offenders accountable. I'm not blaming Ms. Hand for what she felt necessary to do. And I would agree that come August 7th, hopefully we will be in a better position to hire assistant prosecutors.
Becky?
I would agree. It is definitely an awkward position to be in if you are the only prosecutor. Our prosecutor's office has been running at 3 people for an extended period of time. So to go down to 1, that certainly makes it extremely difficult. I do have some concerns in regards to the maintenance of files and access to lien for contractors, essentially. So I do have some concerns in regards to how we're handling that.
Thank you. Just so everybody knows what they're saying, August 7th, because there's no Democratic candidate at this point, and the likely winner of this likely moves on to be the prosecutor. So, next question goes to Rob, and we'll start with Jordan for the first answer.
What needs to be done in Mason County? That always happens. But what needs to be done in Mason County to deter the drug issue?
So, I will start by saying there's no real easy answer, but I do think there are certain things that can be done, and probably the most important, in my opinion, is what I keep harping on, is efficiency. We have had 4 years of what I would call rigid plea bargaining principles that have led to docket congestion and inefficiency. Think about, especially in terms of bail reform and the things that have recently gone on with the changes in the legislature. Think about drug offenders. They're not sitting in jail mostly. They're out in the community on bond. So if they're awaiting trial for a year plus, what do you think they're out there doing? Drugs. So the best thing we can do for drug offenders is to get them into the system, a quick and fair resolution that ensures public safety, get them under the jurisdiction of the court, subject to probationary terms, where they can attend treatment, be ordered to attend treatment, and if they fail or if they violate in any way, they can go back to jail. But they can't do that necessarily while they're just out on bond.
Thank you. Becky?
I would agree with Jordan. If we have people out on bond for extended periods of time, it creates problems. As a criminal defense attorney, I've seen that. The worst thing that can happen in a criminal defense attorney's case is to have their person out on bond for an extended period of time when they're a drug user. The reality is that they're going to use again. And if they use again, they may get caught again. And that only then amplifies their situation. It does not help any of us to prolong these cases and to not give fair resolutions and to have these people on bond for a year. Thank you.
Thank you. Beth?
Thank you. I think there's a misconception about what happens when somebody is arrested for a drug offense. If it's their first offense, yes, they get placed on bond, and generally they are pleading within the first or second pretrial, and they're given probation, and they're given treatment, and they're given resources to fight their addiction. If they get placed on probation and they violate, it's usually with another drug offense, they again come before the court, and they're placed on probation, and they're given resources, and then they violate. Without accountability and without a no-nonsense prosecutor who's going to say, okay, this is your third chance, it's time for you to go to jail. At a certain point, drug-addicted people, who I have a great deal of empathy for, at a certain point they have to decide, do I want to continue using drugs or do I want my freedom? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And drug-addicted individuals have learned in this county how to work the system so much that they keep getting a slap on the wrist and then they're back out. That has to stop.
Thank you. Our next question will be asked by Lois, and we'll start with Becky.
Okay, this is another question submitted by someone in the audience. Staff stability is important for effective teamwork in any office, including the prosecutor's office. How will you eliminate the high turnover of attorneys in the prosecutor's office that has occurred in the last 3 years? And also, what policies or what procedures would you put in place to ensure that there is stability moving forward too?
Sure. Well, I think in the prosecutor's office in general, over the last 3 years, we've seen a high turnover not only in attorneys in the office, but we've seen a high turnover as well in the staff. And so I think that getting a new person in place and a person who can work together with a variety of people and perhaps train new attorneys in order to get them on board. That's the reality of what is going to have to happen in Mason County. We're going to need to hire 2 new prosecuting attorneys, and that person is going to need to train those attorneys to work in the prosecutor's office. And so that's what's going to need to happen in Mason County.
Thank you. Beth?
And who better to train new attorneys to be a prosecutor than somebody with 32 years of experience of doing it? There has been turnover. One of the turnovers, this is a 3-person office, so 33% of the turnover in this office came when our elected prosecutor decided to leave office. And why did she leave office? I can only assume, based on our conversations, that she was overwhelmed. And she was overwhelmed because she only had less than 5 years experience as an attorney when she took this office. And she had no idea the magnitude of the responsibility that comes with running an office. I do. I've been doing it. As I indicated, I've managed a section of Oakland County that's bigger than the Mason County Prosecutor's Office. My staff is extremely loyal to me. We have a great working relationship. Every one of them wants to be there. They work oftentimes for free because they work over hours because they want to see the success of this office, and that is loyalty, and that is loyalty to me.
Thank you. Jordan?
So, as the prosecutor, you have to obviously be able to make wise judgment decisions when it comes to hiring your staff, not only the assistant prosecutors, but the staff members as well. We have seen turnover in that office, and for what it's worth, it's not just the elected prosecutor. There were 2 assistant prosecutors who have also come and gone under the last 4 years, terribly inefficient. As the prosecutor, you know, I've been the chief assistant prosecutor in Manistee County for almost 5 years now, and so I also have experience managing personnel. I believe in my own judgment. I believe in my own competence to handle staff, to handle assistant prosecutors, and to make good judgment calls when it comes to hiring individuals.
Thank you. Next question will be asked by Steve Ruba, and we'll start with Beth.
I've got too many questions. We're hearing from all of you that change is needed, from some of you more than others. What kind of resources do you need to affect that change?
Well, the resources we need is actually personnel, and so I do need two assistants. In terms of my relationships with law enforcement and what I've heard from the community, I have the skill set to make that change. There had been a culture that had been brought and conditioned in the past administrations that the defense attorneys were conditioned, if you wait longer, you'll get a better deal, That's not the case anymore. And in order to effectuate the change that we need in this office, we need consistency, and we need the support of obviously the Board of Commissioners, who have been great so far in helping me staff the office until I can hire 2 new attorneys. So that is what we need. I'm sorry, I joked about it. We need personnel, and I'm going to get it.
Thank you. Jordan?
Well, I would agree. We do need personnel. And again, it goes back to trusting in the elected prosecutor to make wise judgment decisions when it comes to hiring staff and hiring assistant prosecutors. You do have to have an elected prosecutor who has the trust and relationship with law enforcement. You do have to have an elected prosecutor who has the trust and the faith of the county commissioners when it comes to the budget and the things that the prosecutor is asking for. So in the last 4 years, I would submit that we haven't had that really. We've had inefficiency, and we've had turnover, and we've had a county board that has been asking a lot of questions about funding, about what is going on in this office. And that is not just the county board, that is extending out to the attorneys, it's extending out to the courts, asking what is going on with this office and why are we in the state that we're in.
Thank you. Becky?
In regards to the office, I think that the county commissioners have done a really good job of funding the office. I don't think that the office needs additional resources for the job. I think that 2 new prosecutors need to be hired, but there doesn't need to be additional resources. I would note that we've had an extreme amount of jury trials recently in the last couple of years, and as Jordan stated, a lot of them have been not guilty. And having an extreme number of jury trials is costing the taxpayers money. And it's fine to have jury trials when you need to have a jury trial for somebody that's a chronic and repeat offender, and you don't want to offer a good plea offer. But it's not good to consistently have not guilty jury verdicts, because we are bringing the jury in and we're bringing the community in, and they're expending their time and energy on these jury trials.
Okay, thank you. Getting near the end of time, this could be the last question, unless everybody wants one more round. What's feelings up there? One more round? All right, we'll do one more round after this one. So, but this is Rob will ask this question of Jordan.
We've had several questions regarding the enforcement of local ordinances, such as noise ordinances. Additionally, both of the cities in this county, Scotland and Ludington, struggle with getting the local courts to tackle blight. What is the role of the prosecutor in helping local communities enforce local ordinances?
So this is actually something that I've been hearing in a lot of the board meetings that I've been attending countywide over the last couple of months, is that a lot of municipalities are very disappointed in the current administration's efforts in enforcing these ordinances. What I would say as a general matter is that is left to the agreement between the prosecutor's office and those municipalities. If there is an agreement in place that the prosecutor's office is going to handle those matters, then the municipalities should be able to trust that the prosecutor's office is going to handle those matters and not just let them sit by the wayside or go unaddressed. Because at the end of the day, if that is happening, then you're really just making, unfortunately, everyone unhappy. And so that is something that definitely needs to be addressed. But again, it just goes back to the agreement that's between the office and the municipalities. And if there is an agreement in place, then the prosecutor's office should be upholding their end of the bargain. Thank you. Becky?
I would agree with Jordan. I think that if there's an agreement in place, the prosecutor should be addressing these ordinances. I would note, just like Jordan, at going to all of the township meetings, that is the hot topic right now. And when I was putting out one of my signs, I had somebody show me their next door neighbor, and it essentially is a group of campers, and there are people urinating outside these group of campers and living in crazy conditions. And these are things that the prosecutor can handle. We can handle these things, and we need to be.
Okay, we'll do a few more here. You didn't give me that. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Both other candidates said if there is an agreement in place, and that's very key. So we do have a contract with the City of Ludington, and we do enforce the City of Ludington's ordinances. That's part of the job of the prosecutor's office. There are several townships: Amber, Branch, Custer, Eden, Mead, Victory, Riverton, and the village of Custer, who we have contracted with the county junk commission. And in order for a prosecutor to prosecute a case, those violations need to be brought before the office. I've been here almost 4 years, and not once has the junk ordinance board come to me and say, can you enforce this ordinance? Clearly, if they have contracted with the county, it is the prosecutor's responsibility to handle them, but I can't go out and ask for them to be brought to me. They need to be brought to me.
Can I respond to that additional question? From my previous experience with the City Commission in Scotland, a lot of that is a roadblock with the district court. So how do we address that? How do we change? The City of Scotland spent hundreds and hundreds of hours, and I'm sure the City of Ludington, Mayor Barnett's shaking his head. We bring man-hours worth of tickets to the district court, and they just get thrown out. How do we change that so we can fight blight in our communities? Because it's not being handled by the district court. It's being thrown out before it even gets to you. How do we take care of that?
So let me, just for housekeeping, this will be your extra question, Rob.
Okay.
And we're going to do these just 30 seconds. So
Same order. Okay.
yeah.
So I guess in response to your question, Rob, can't control the courts, right? Can't control what the district court or the circuit court chooses to do with its docket. So if there are violations that are being prosecuted, and they're being prosecuted by the prosecutor's office, that's all we can do as prosecutors. And if the court chooses to take a different route, there's really nothing that we can do about that. But that's what I would say in response to that.
And I would just echo that it has to be brought to the prosecutor's office in order for us to handle it. And if it is brought to us by the county junk ordinance, we can take it not only to the district court, but we can file a case in the circuit court in front of Judge Snagowski and ask for a nuisance abatement. And I'm 100% for that, and I think that it should be a cooperative effort. And people do deserve to have a neighbor whose house is clean and tidy. But it has to be brought to our attention. I can't handle something if it bypasses me and goes right to district court.
Becky?
I would agree that it needs to go to the prosecutor. If it's not going to the prosecutor, then I'm not sure how the prosecutor can enforce something that they haven't even seen.
Okay, thank you. So, next question, Lois, and we'll start with Becky on the first answer.
And I'm not sure if this is true on this question, but they're wondering why the acquittal rate is so high in Mason County compared to other counties.
Well, I would say it's because the defense attorneys are awesome attorneys. But the reality is that the cases that we are taking to trial, I don't have time to take these cases to trial. I don't want to take these cases to trial. These aren't cases that should be going to trial. We're getting acquittals because they are cases that shouldn't have gone to trial. There should have been a reasonable plea offer made, and we are going to trial and winning as defense attorneys. And that's not how it should be. As a prosecutor, you should have a high conviction rate, not a low conviction rate. If I'm spending my time taking a case to trial, it's going to be a trial that I know I'm going to win. And so, as a prosecutor, those are the cases that I'm going to focus on.
Thank you, Beth.
First of all, I don't know that we can indicate that Mason County has a very high acquittal rate. What I can say is in 3.5 years here, I have lost one trial. And that is because I am a skilled trial attorney. I'm not going to say anything, bad about Ms. Crimebrink. She did not. I will just say she was not experienced, and it takes an experienced trial attorney to win a trial. And you can't have a crystal ball. So for somebody to say, "Well, I'm only going to take a case to trial that I'm going to win," you can't predict that. Juries are 12 living people who all come to this world with different opinions, and that's what we want, because we want a jury that's going to be diverse and hear the case to its fruition. I can indicate this, as your prosecutor, I am going to take those cases to trial that need to be tried, regardless of my crystal ball. If you rape somebody, you're going to trial. You're not getting a plea deal from me.
Thank you. Jordan?
So I would agree in part, obviously, with what Ms. Hand has said, that you can't have a crystal ball. And sometimes it's not the prosecutor's choice. Sometimes it's not the prosecutor's choice whether to go to trial. The defendant has constitutional rights. And whether they choose to exercise those rights or exercise a plea that may have been offered is really out of the control of the prosecutor. What I would say, and again, I don't have the rates, the statistics, but it doesn't take but a simple Google search to find that in the last 4 years we have had several cases going to trial in this county where people have been found not guilty or guilty of lesser offenses. What that says to me is that the prosecutors in the office are making errors in judgment when they're evaluating the strength of the evidence. They're making errors in judgment when they're deciding whether or not to extend a plea offer and what that offer is. And so because of that, they are forcing defendants to go to trial, because why wouldn't they? And unfortunately, in a lot of instances in which they have come out on the right side. It's not acceptable. It needs to change.
The last question will go to Steve, and we'll start with Beth.
All right, thank you. We did have somebody from our audience that they wanted to know if there are laws or ordinances you don't agree with, how do you enforce them? And that's similar to what I was going to ask you. Have you ever faced an ethical dilemma? And if you did, how did you resolve it?
I'm saying with me.
Yes.
Do I have my personal feelings about a law never come into play? They can't. As a law enforcement officer, you're bound to uphold the law as it's written, regardless of your personal beliefs. I can give an example. Back when medical marijuana was new and it was all the rage, I was the head of the drug unit for Oakland County. Whether or not I agreed or disagreed with the ability for an individual who had cancer to use medical marijuana was not my choice to make. Because as an attorney, your ethical obligations are always to seek justice, and you can't let your personal opinions or your personal values come into play when you make decisions about other people's freedom.
Thank you, Jordan.
So, and again, I would agree. I mean, personal beliefs have never and would never dictate the decisions that I make as a prosecutor. I have never allowed my personal beliefs, or my political beliefs for that matter, to ever dictate the charging decisions I make or the way I resolve cases. The cases have to be brought based on the facts. They have to be brought based on the applicable law. And if there's a violation of the law, there's a violation of the law. It doesn't matter whether or not you agree with that law as a prosecutor.
Thank you. Now we're going to go to closings, and this is by order of draw, and Becky will begin.
I actually didn't get a chance to respond
Oh,
to
I'm
that
sorry.
question.
Oh, well, you get to respond first.
Sure.
How's that?
So, I would just agree. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. I guess I'll say my closing. So, in closing tonight, I'm asking for your support, and I'm asking for your vote on August 6th. We need a change in this prosecutor's office. We need additional staff, and we desperately need somebody who can look at cases and be able to ascertain the validity of the case, the strength and weaknesses of the case, and determine how to proceed from there. And so I am able to do that. I am a member of your community. I have lived here my entire life. I am a person of integrity, and I stand by that integrity. That is why I'm asking for you to vote for me.
Thank you. Beth?
Throughout this campaign process, there's been attempts, I've even heard it at doors, to lump me in with my predecessor. My predecessor was a very nice individual, but I am not her, and I am different from her, and I have an experience level greater than both my opponents combined. I've been an attorney longer than both my opponents combined. If law enforcement thought that they were going to be getting more of the same by electing me to this office, I would not have every single law enforcement endorsement of this county. I am the only candidate with those endorsements, because over the past 3.5 years, law enforcement, when they started to see the writing on the wall, they came to me directly because they know they could trust me. And I want this county to know you can trust me, and I will make this place a safe and happy, great community to raise your children in.
Thank you. Jordan?
I'm choosing to run for this office because I am also committed to this county. My children live here. I have lived here the last 10 years. I plan on living here for the rest of my life. We're not going anywhere. We're at a critical juncture in this county as to whether or not we are going to vote for 4 more years of the same, or whether or not we are going to introduce new blood. With all due respect to Ms. Hand, I think that we might be getting more of the same in the next 4 years. We need more stability, we need more efficiency, we need more accountability. She's not the only one who law enforcement has approached in the last couple of years. I have also been approached by law enforcement members of this community asking me, are you going to run for prosecutor? We need something to change. And so I would just submit to you that the time is now. We have the opportunity to make that change on August 6th, and that's why I'm asking for your vote.
These are your candidates for Mason County Prosecutor: Beth Hand, Becky Weber, and Jordan Miller. Thank you. And I want to thank all the candidates tonight for taking part. I want to thank the sponsors, the Chamber, Mason County Press, Loving Daily News, and City G Media for helping. And I want to thank you, the audience, for just sitting out there and listening to me mumble my way through here. So we
We're glad you're here. We hope you all vote August 6th, so thank you. Thank you very much.